The notification arrives at 6:47 p.m., precisely when Alexandra knows I'll be settling into my evening routine. Her text message carries the practiced efficiency of someone who has refined deception into an art form, corporate vocabulary transforming elaborate betrayal into something as mundane as quarterly reports and budget meetings. Don't wait up. Work emergency at the hotel. Could be all night. Love you. I stare at the screen of my phone, sitting in my home office surrounded by the familiar glow of multiple monitors. 23 years in IT security consulting has taught me that the most dangerous vulnerabilities hide behind the most innocent-looking interfaces. Alexandra's message triggers every instinct I've developed for detecting system intrusions. My name is Jonathan Mercer, and I've spent my entire career teaching corporations how to protect themselves from people who lie for a living. The irony isn't lost on me that I apparently married one. Love you too, I type back, my fingers moving with the mechanical precision of someone executing a well-rehearsed script. Handle whatever needs handling. The response arrives within seconds. A heart emoji, nothing more. Alexandra has always been economical with her communications, especially when she's busy constructing elaborate fictions. I lean back in my ergonomic chair, the leather creaking with the weight of a man who spends 12 hours a day analyzing digital patterns that reveal human behavior. My office overlooks our perfectly manicured suburban street, where every house maintains the same careful distance from its neighbors, every lawn trimmed to identical specifications. We moved to this development 3 years ago, Alexandra's choice, because it projected the right image for her career in corporate human resources. The irony multiplies daily. My wife specializes in investigating workplace misconduct while apparently conducting her own comprehensive violation of professional ethics. 3 months ago, the pattern began emerging. Late meetings that coincided with no visible projects. Dinner receipts from restaurants she claimed were client entertainment, except her company's expense reports showed no corresponding submissions. New lingerie that never appeared during our increasingly infrequent intimate moments. Phone calls that ended abruptly when I entered rooms. But tonight feels different. Tonight carries the weight of escalation, the digital signature of someone who has moved beyond careful testing into full system exploitation. I minimize my work applications and open the family tracking app we installed last year after Alexandra's sister, Melissa, got carjacked in downtown Atlanta. The application loads with the cheerful efficiency of technology designed to provide peace of mind to worried families. Alexandra's phone icon appears on the map, a small blue dot broadcasting her location to anyone with the proper credentials. The Five Palms Hotel, downtown. 47 minutes from our house, in the opposite direction from her office. I take a screenshot. The timestamp reads 7:23 p.m. The location services show her phone has been stationary at this address for 36 minutes. My training kicks in automatically. When investigating security breaches, emotion compromises analysis. Facts matter, evidence matters. Assumptions lead to false positives and missed vulnerabilities. I open a new browser window and navigate to the Five Palms website. 5-star accommodations. Luxury suites starting at $400 per night. The kind of establishment that caters to people who value discretion above economy. Their photo gallery showcases marble bathrooms, Egyptian cotton linens, and champagne service that costs more than most people's monthly car payments. Another screenshot. I'm building a case file without conscious intention. Muscle memory from thousands of forensic investigations taking control of my actions. The house feels different when you're alone by choice versus alone by deception. Every familiar sound, the refrigerator cycling, the heating system engaging, the neighbor's television through thin walls, becomes amplified when you're processing the architecture of sustained betrayal. My phone buzzes. A text from Arjun, my business partner and the closest thing I have to a best friend in this carefully curated suburban existence. Beer tonight? Jennifer's working late and I'm going crazy with Netflix. Rain check. Conducting some research. Work stuff? Personal project. I'll explain later. I silence the phone and return to my investigation. The tracking app refreshes automatically every 15 minutes. Alexandra's location remains constant. Whatever emergency requires her attention apparently takes place in a stationary position at a luxury hotel. I open our shared calendar application. Alexandra's schedule shows a blank evening with no meetings, no client dinners, no corporate events that would justify her current location. Her work calendar, which syncs automatically with our family system, displays the same information. The evidence accumulates with the methodical precision of a well-designed algorithm. Location data, calendar inconsistencies, communication patterns that deviate from established baselines. If this were a corporate security assessment, I would be recommending immediate containment protocols. But this isn't corporate security. This is my marriage dissolving in real time, documented by the same technology that Alexandra forgot she had agreed to share. I take another screenshot at 8:15 p.m., still stationary, still at the Five Palms Hotel. The rational part of my brain acknowledges multiple innocent explanations. Corporate emergencies do occur at hotels when clients require immediate attention. Human resources directors occasionally handle sensitive situations that require neutral locations. Technology sometimes provides misleading information, but 23 years of investigating human behavior has taught me that the simplest explanation usually proves correct. When someone claims to be in one location while technology places them somewhere else, the technology is rarely mistaken. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's Alexandra. This is taking longer than expected. Definitely won't be home until very late. Don't wait up. I study the message for several minutes, analyzing word choice and timing. She's establishing an alibi for extended absence, creating documentation that supports whatever narrative she plans to construct for tomorrow morning's inevitable questions. No problem. Handle whatever needs handling. I'll be here. The response feels appropriate. Supportive husband expressing understanding for professional obligations. No suspicion, no interrogation, no indication that I'm currently documenting her precise location with forensic precision. My computer chimes with an incoming email. Work-related, but I ignore it. Tonight, my personal security assessment takes priority over client obligations. I lean back in my chair and consider my options. Confrontation offers immediate satisfaction, but surrenders strategic advantage. Driving to the hotel would provide visual confirmation, but alerts the target to surveillance. Calling her directly would force improvised explanations that might improve her operational security. Instead, I open a new document and begin typing. Documentation serves multiple purposes in security investigations. It preserves evidence that might otherwise disappear. It clarifies thinking by forcing analysis into structured formats, and it provides ammunition for whatever actions become necessary. Timeline: Alexandra's work emergency, March 15th. 6:47 p.m. Initial notification received. Claims work emergency at the hotel. 7:23 p.m. Location services place her phone at Five Palms Hotel, downtown. 8:15 p.m. Still stationary at same location. 8:32 p.m. Second message claiming extended timeline, advising not to wait up. I save the document to an encrypted folder that Alexandra doesn't know exists. 23 years of marriage to an IT security consultant, and she still doesn't understand that digital privacy requires more than deleting browser history. The tracking app refreshes again. 8:45 p.m., still at the Five Palms Hotel. I close my laptop and walk to the kitchen, muscle memory guiding me through the routine of making coffee I don't particularly want. The familiar actions provide comfort while my brain processes implications that extend far beyond tonight's deception. Our house showcases Alexandra's talent for creating perfect surfaces. Every room decorated according to principles she learned from home improvement shows. Every photograph positioned to suggest happiness that exists primarily for documentation purposes. every detail calculated to project success to visitors who rarely stay long enough to notice the careful staging. I return to my office with coffee that tastes like routine and obligation. The tracking app shows no change. Alexandra's phone continues broadcasting from the Five Palms Hotel, a digital beacon announcing her location to anyone with proper access credentials. My phone buzzes with a text from Melissa, Alexandra's sister. Is Alex working late again? She's not answering my calls. I stare at the message for several minutes, weighing response options. Melissa lives for drama and gossip, transforming family interactions into entertainment for her social media followers. She documents every family gathering, every minor conflict, every piece of information that can be transformed into content for her lifestyle blog. Yeah, some emergency at a hotel. Client situation, I think. She's been working so much lately. Good thing she loves her job. Right, very dedicated. I set the phone aside and return to my computer. The tracking app refreshes automatically. 9:30 p.m. Still stationary at the Five Palms Hotel. Whatever emergency requires Alexandra's attention apparently involves remaining in one location for over 2 hours. In my experience, genuine emergencies involve movement, multiple locations, constant communication with various parties. Static emergencies usually indicate situations that aren't actually emergencies. I take another screenshot and add it to my growing file of documentation. The evidence accumulates with mechanical precision, each timestamp building a case that will eventually require resolution. But tonight isn't about resolution. Tonight is about gathering intelligence, understanding the full scope of the security breach, and planning appropriate countermeasures. My wife thinks she's conducting a covert operation. What she doesn't understand is that she's actually participating in a comprehensive security assessment, and the results will be more devastating than any emergency she could possibly imagine. The tracking app refreshes at 10:47 p.m., and Alexandra's phone finally shows movement. Not toward home, not toward her office, but deeper into the downtown area. The blue dot creeps along surface streets at the pace of someone who isn't rushing to resolve any emergency. I screenshot the movement pattern and add it to my growing file. 23 years of digital forensics has taught me that people reveal more about themselves through their travel patterns than through their words. Alexandra's route suggests someone with time to spare, someone whose emergency allows for leisurely navigation through city traffic. My phone buzzes with another message from her. Still dealing with this situation, probably won't be home until after midnight. Sorry, honey. The timestamp shows 10:52 p.m. According to the tracking app, she sent this message while stopped at a traffic light 6 blocks from the hotel. I take a screenshot of both the message and her location, adding them to my documentation with methodical precision. Take your time. I understand these things can be complicated. My response carries multiple layers of meaning that she won't recognize until much later. Alexandra has always been confident in her ability to manage information, to control narratives, to present carefully curated versions of reality that serve her immediate purposes. What she doesn't understand is that information management requires understanding all the channels through which information flows. I close the tracking app and open my laptop's more sophisticated monitoring software. Most people don't realize that family safety applications represent the consumer-grade version of enterprise surveillance tools. The professional versions offer capabilities that would surprise anyone who thinks privacy exists in the digital age. Alexandra's phone connects to our home Wi-Fi network every morning and evening, automatically backing up photos, messages, and application data to cloud storage accounts that we established during the early years of our marriage. Shared accounts, shared passwords, shared access to digital lives that seemed romantic when we were younger and more trusting. The backup files load with the efficiency of well-designed systems. Alexandra's photo gallery updates automatically, preserving memories she apparently doesn't want preserved. Tonight's images include several selfies taken in what appears to be an upscale hotel room, marble bathroom fixtures visible in the background, Egyptian cotton robes hanging on polished hooks, the kind of accommodations that match the Five Palms Hotel's marketing materials. But she's not alone in these photos. The man appears in 3 images, carefully cropped to avoid showing his face, but revealing enough detail to establish his presence. Expensive watch, tailored shirt cuffs, wedding ring that doesn't match mine. I enhance the images using software designed for corporate security investigations. The watch resolves into a Rolex Submariner, retail price approximately $12,000. The shirt cuffs show monogrammed initials, DT. The wedding ring displays a distinctive pattern that suggests custom design. More evidence for my growing file. More pieces of a puzzle that's becoming clearer with each screenshot. I cross-reference the initials with Alexandra's professional contacts, searching through her LinkedIn connections and email correspondence. The results narrow quickly to David Thornton, a real estate developer who has appeared in her work communications over the past 6 months. Their email thread begins with professional inquiries about corporate housing for relocated employees and evolves into increasingly personal exchanges about restaurants, wine preferences, and mutual availability for consultation meetings. David Thornton. Married to Rachel Thornton, according to his social media profiles. Father of 2 teenage children. Owner of Thornton Development Group, a company that specializes in luxury residential projects throughout the metro area. I open a new browser window and research David's background with the thoroughness of someone conducting a comprehensive security assessment. His company website showcases million-dollar properties and testimonials from satisfied clients who appreciate his attention to detail and personal service. His LinkedIn profile emphasizes his commitment to family values and community involvement. The irony would be amusing if it weren't so personally devastating. David's social media presence reveals someone who carefully curates his public image. Photos of family vacations, charity golf tournaments, and business achievements dominate his feeds. His wife Rachel appears frequently, usually dressed in the kind of expensive casual wear that suggests comfort with significant disposable income. I screenshot David's profiles and add them to my documentation. The file now contains location data, timeline analysis, photographic evidence, and background information on all parties involved in tonight's emergency. My phone buzzes with a text from Arjun. Everything okay? You went quiet earlier. Conducting a security assessment. Discovered some vulnerabilities that require immediate attention. Work stuff or personal stuff? Personal, but I'm applying professional methodologies. That sounds ominous. Call me if you need backup. I appreciate Arjun's offer, but tonight requires solo operations. What I'm documenting needs to remain confidential until I decide how to deploy the information for maximum strategic impact. The tracking app shows Alexandra's phone moving again, this time toward the interstate that leads back to our suburban development. The timestamp reads 11:34 p.m. Her emergency apparently concluded after nearly 5 hours of stationary and semi-stationary positioning. I save my documentation and close all monitoring applications. By the time Alexandra arrives home, I'll be in bed with the lights off, playing the role of the trusting husband who fell asleep waiting for her return. She'll assume I never questioned her story, never investigated her location, never discovered the evidence that will eventually transform our marriage into a case study in strategic information warfare. But first, I need to expand my intelligence gathering beyond tonight's immediate discoveries. I open Alexandra's cloud storage account and begin reviewing the past 3 months of automatically backed up data. Photos, messages, calendar entries, and application data that tells a story she never intended to share. The pattern emerges with mathematical precision. Hotel visits that correspond with David's travel schedule. Restaurant receipts that match his social media check-ins. Text messages that escalate from professional courtesy to personal intimacy over a period of weeks. The evidence is overwhelming, but evidence alone doesn't constitute strategy. What matters is how information gets deployed, when it gets revealed, and to whom it gets distributed for maximum impact. I open a new document and begin planning the next phase of my investigation. Strategic Options Assessment. Alexandra David situation. Option 1. Direct confrontation. Immediate satisfaction, but allows targets to coordinate defensive responses and control narrative. Option 2. Legal consultation. Expensive, slow, uncertain outcomes, alerts targets to investigation. Option 3. Coordinated information distribution. Simultaneous revelation to all relevant parties, prevents coordination of defensive responses, maximizes social and professional consequences. Option 3. Appeals to my systematic nature. Corporate security breaches get resolved through coordinated response protocols that prevent attackers from adapting their strategies. Personal betrayals should be handled with the same methodological precision. I begin compiling a distribution list. Alexandra's parents, William and Catherine Harwood, who have spent 38 years believing their daughter represents everything they value about family loyalty and moral integrity. Alexandra's sister, Melissa, who transforms family drama into social media content and has never met a piece of gossip she couldn't amplify. David's wife, Rachel, who deserves to know that her husband's business trips include activities not covered in his expense reports. Each recipient will receive identical evidence packages, preventing coordination of explanations or defensive strategies. The simultaneous revelation will create multiple crisis points that require immediate attention, overwhelming their ability to manage information flow or control narratives. But timing matters. Strategic information deployment requires careful consideration of when targets are most vulnerable, when audiences are most receptive, and when defensive options are most limited. I save the document and check the tracking app one final time. Alexandra's phone shows her pulling into our driveway at 12:17 a.m. Her emergency has officially concluded after 5.5 hours of activities that required no movement, no phone calls to supervisors, and no documentation in her work calendar. I close my laptop and head to the bedroom, leaving the lights off and settling into bed with the practiced quiet of someone who has been asleep for hours. The sound of her key in the front door reaches me through walls that suddenly feel much thinner than they did this morning. Alexandra moves through the house with careful stealth, avoiding the floorboards that creak and the cabinet doors that slam. She's being considerate of my sleep, protecting me from the disruption of her late return from a work emergency that required her to spend the evening in a luxury hotel room with a married real estate developer. The irony tastes bitter in the darkness of our bedroom. She slips into bed beside me, her movements carrying the careful precision of someone who doesn't want to trigger questions. Her hair smells like expensive shampoo that doesn't match any products in our bathroom. Her skin carries the faint scent of cologne that isn't mine. "Jonathan," she whispers, "are you awake?" I maintain the steady breathing pattern of someone deep in sleep, someone who trusts completely, someone who would never think to question the story of a work emergency that lasted until after midnight. "I love you," she whispers into the darkness. The words hang in the air like a challenge, like a test of my ability to maintain operational security, while she destroys everything we've built together. I don't respond. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Morning arrives with the artificial cheerfulness of Alexandra's routine, her movements through our bedroom carrying the practiced efficiency of someone who has refined deception into muscle memory. She showers longer than usual, uses more expensive products than normal, and emerges from the bathroom looking like someone who spent the previous evening in professional meetings rather than luxury hotel rooms. "Coffee's ready," she announces, kissing my forehead with the casual intimacy of a wife who believes her husband remains completely unaware of her extracurricular activities. I have to leave early today. Follow-up meetings about last night's situation. I stretch and yawn with the convincing performance of someone just waking up, someone whose biggest concern involves choosing between breakfast cereals rather than planning the systematic destruction of his wife's carefully constructed life. "How did everything work out? You were gone pretty late." Oh, you know how these things go. Client emergencies always take longer than expected, but we got everything resolved. Alexandra's explanation carries the smooth confidence of someone who has practiced this conversation, who has anticipated my questions and prepared appropriate responses. What she hasn't anticipated is that I've spent the night documenting her actual activities with forensic precision. Good. I'm glad you could help them sort things out. I follow her downstairs to the kitchen, where she moves through her morning routine with the efficiency of someone eager to minimize conversation. Coffee, toast, quick scan of her phone, gathering of work materials that include nothing related to last night's supposed emergency. I might be late again tonight, she mentions while checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. This client situation is more complicated than we initially thought. No problem. I'll probably work late myself. Big project deadline coming up. The lie flows easily, establishing my own alibi for the evening's planned activities. Alexandra nods with the distracted attention of someone whose mind is already focused on her next deception. She leaves at 7:23 a.m., backing out of our driveway with the careful precision of someone who has places to be and people to meet who aren't her husband. I watch from the kitchen window until her car disappears around the corner, then return to my office to begin the day's real work. The evidence file has grown overnight as Alexandra's phone continued its automatic backup processes. New photos, new messages, new data points that confirm what I already suspected and provide additional ammunition for what I'm planning. David Thornton sent her a good morning message at 6:45 a.m. Last night was incredible. Can't wait for tonight's follow-up meeting. Alexandra's response arrived at 7:15 a.m. Me too. Same time, same place? Absolutely. I'll handle the room arrangements. The exchange provides perfect documentation of premeditated deception, evidence that last night's activities were planned in advance, and tonight's will follow the same pattern. More importantly, it establishes that their relationship has moved beyond spontaneous encounters into regularly scheduled appointments. I screenshot the entire conversation and add it to my growing file, then begin the careful process of expanding my intelligence gathering to include David's digital footprint. His social media accounts reveal someone who maintains the same careful separation between public image and private reality that Alexandra has mastered. This morning's posts include a photo of him at his office, coffee cup prominently displayed, caption reading, "Early morning strategy session, building dreams, one project at a time." The timestamp shows 7:30 a.m., 15 minutes after confirming tonight's hotel reservation with my wife. I researched David's business operations with the thoroughness of someone conducting due diligence for a major investment. Thornton Development Group maintains offices in a downtown high-rise, employs 37 people according to their website, and has completed over $200 million in residential projects over the past 5 years. More interesting is David's personal financial situation. Public records show a mortgage on a $4.2 million house in the city's most exclusive neighborhood. His wife Rachel's social media presence suggests someone comfortable with significant discretionary spending. Designer clothing, luxury vacations, expensive hobbies that require substantial ongoing investment. David's marriage represents exactly the kind of high-stakes situation that makes infidelity particularly devastating when exposed. He has more to lose than just personal relationships. His business depends on reputation, client trust, and community standing that would evaporate quickly if his extracurricular activities became public knowledge. I compiled David's information into a separate file, cross-referencing his business contacts, social connections, and professional associations. The man has built an empire based on personal integrity and family values. The irony will be particularly satisfying when those foundations collapse under the weight of documented evidence. My phone buzzes with a text from Melissa, Alexandra's sister. "Coffee this afternoon? I have some family drama to discuss, and you're the only one who won't judge me." The timing couldn't be more perfect. Melissa's invitation provides an opportunity to gather intelligence about family dynamics while positioning myself as the supportive brother-in-law who would never suspect his wife of systematic betrayal. Sounds good. The usual place at 3? Perfect. And Jonathan? Thanks for being so understanding about Alex's work schedule lately. I know her late nights must be tough on you. I stare at Melissa's message for several minutes, analyzing the implications. Either she's genuinely sympathetic to my situation, or she knows more about Alexandra's activities than she's admitting. Given Melissa's talent for collecting and distributing family information, the latter seems more likely. No problem. We all have professional obligations that require flexibility. My response maintains the facade while gathering intelligence about what Melissa might know or suspect. This afternoon's coffee meeting will provide an opportunity to assess whether she's a potential ally or another target for my information distribution strategy. I spend the morning reviewing Alexandra's complete digital history, searching for patterns that reveal the full scope of her deception. The evidence extends back 4 months, beginning with professional emails that gradually became personal, then intimate, then explicitly romantic. The progression follows a predictable pattern that I've observed in corporate security breaches. Initial contact appears innocent, establishing trust and rapport. Gradual boundary violations test resistance and build confidence. Escalation occurs when targets demonstrate willingness to compromise their principles for perceived benefits. Alexandra's compromise began with lunch meetings that extended beyond professional necessity. David's strategy involved expensive restaurants, attentive conversation, and carefully calibrated personal attention that made her feel special, appreciated, valued in ways that our marriage apparently no longer provided. The realization stings, but emotions compromise operational effectiveness. What matters now is completing my intelligence gathering and executing the information distribution strategy that will maximize consequences for all parties involved. I open a new document and begin drafting the message that will simultaneously reach Alexandra's parents, her sister, and David's wife. The communication needs to be factual, comprehensive, and impossible to dismiss or explain away. Subject: information you need to see. I'm sending this message to multiple people because the situation involves all of you, and everyone deserves to know the truth at the same time. For the past 4 months, Alexandra has been conducting an affair with David Thornton, a married real estate developer. What she's been calling work emergencies and client meetings are actually hotel visits that occur multiple times per week. I've attached screenshots of text messages, location data, photos, and other evidence that documents their activities. The timestamps and location services provide verification that cannot be disputed. I'm not looking for advice, support, or intervention. I'm simply providing information that affects all of your relationships with the people involved. The evidence speaks for itself. I review the message multiple times, editing for clarity and impact while ensuring that nothing can be interpreted as emotional manipulation or plea for sympathy. The facts need to stand alone, allowing each recipient to reach their own conclusions and decide their own responses. The attachment file includes everything: location screenshots, hotel photos, text message conversations, timeline documentation, and background information on David that establishes his identity and marital status. The evidence package contains enough information to eliminate any possibility of denial or alternative explanation. But timing remains crucial. Strategic information deployment requires careful consideration of when each recipient will be most likely to read, process, and act on the intelligence they receive. I schedule the message for delivery at 6 p.m. during the dinner hour when families gather and phones get checked regularly. The timing ensures that all recipients will receive the information simultaneously, preventing coordination of defensive responses and maximizing the shock value of simultaneous revelation. My phone alarm reminds me that I need to leave for coffee with Melissa. The meeting will provide an opportunity to gather final intelligence about family dynamics while maintaining my cover as the unsuspecting husband who trusts completely and suspects nothing. The afternoon promises to be very interesting. Melissa arrives at the coffee shop with the dramatic flair that characterizes everything she does, her entrance designed to attract attention from other customers who might recognize her from social media. She's built a lifestyle brand around being Alexandra's younger sister, documenting family gatherings and personal milestones for an audience that follows her for entertainment value rather than genuine connection. "Jonathan, you look tired. Is everything okay?" She embraces me with the practiced warmth of someone who transforms every interaction into potential content, her phone already positioned to capture our meeting for later documentation. I've learned to tolerate Melissa's performative nature because she provides valuable intelligence about family dynamics that Alexandra tries to keep private. Just work stress. You know how these big projects can be. We settle into a corner table where Melissa can monitor the room while maintaining the illusion of private conversation. She orders something complicated that requires extensive customization, then focuses her attention on me with the intensity of someone who has information to share. "So, I wanted to talk to you about Alexandra. Have you noticed anything different about her lately?" The question carries multiple layers of meaning that I need to navigate carefully. Melissa's talent for collecting and distributing information makes her either a valuable ally or a dangerous security risk, depending on how much she already knows and what she plans to do with additional intelligence. Different how? She's been so busy with work lately, all these client emergencies and late meetings, and she seems, I don't know, happier? Like she's got some secret that's making her excited about life again. Melissa's observation confirms that Alexandra's behavioral changes have been noticed by family members, which means my own suspicions weren't paranoid delusions, but reasonable responses to observable evidence. More importantly, it suggests that Melissa has been monitoring the situation with her usual attention to detail. She does seem energized by her current projects. Sometimes work can be really fulfilling when everything's going well. Right, but it's not just work energy. It's more like, remember how she acted when she first started dating you? That giddy, secretive, constantly checking her phone kind of energy. The comparison hits with surgical precision. Melissa has identified exactly what I've been observing but couldn't articulate. Alexandra is displaying the behavioral patterns of someone in the early stages of romantic infatuation. The same patterns I remember from our own courtship, now directed towards someone else. Maybe she's just excited about some big opportunity at work. You know how competitive she gets about career advancement. Maybe. But Jonathan, I have to tell you something, and I hope you won't get upset with me for bringing it up. Melissa leans forward with the conspiratorial intensity of someone who has been waiting for this moment, who has information that she's been debating whether to share. Her expression suggests that whatever she's about to reveal will change our conversation significantly. "I saw her last week at Romano's, that expensive Italian place downtown. She was having dinner with some guy I didn't recognize. Very cozy table, lots of wine, definitely not a business meeting kind of vibe." The information provides external confirmation of what I've already documented through digital surveillance. Melissa witnessed one of Alexandra's client dinners and correctly identified it as something more personal than professional. The question is whether she's sharing this information out of genuine concern or because she's building toward some larger revelation. "Did you talk to her?" "No, I was with my friend Sarah and we were across the restaurant. But Jonathan, they were holding hands. And when they left together." Melissa's voice carries the particular excitement of someone who has discovered a secret that validates their suspicions about family drama. She's been investigating Alexandra's behavior with the same attention to detail that I've been applying, but from a different angle and with different motivations. That does sound unusual for a business dinner. Right? And here's the thing. I looked the guy up on social media after I got home. His name is David something. He's a real estate developer, and he's married with kids. The revelation that Melissa has already identified David and researched his background changes the strategic landscape significantly. She possesses independent confirmation of the affair, which means she's either an ally who can provide additional intelligence or a security risk who might compromise my information distribution strategy. How did you find out his name? I asked the server, told her I thought I recognized him from somewhere and wondered if he was someone famous. She said he's a regular customer, always comes in with different women, always pays cash, always tips really well to keep people from talking. Melissa's investigation reveals that David's infidelity extends beyond his relationship with Alexandra. He's apparently a serial cheater who uses expensive restaurants as hunting grounds and relies on financial incentives to maintain operational security. The information adds another layer of evidence that will be particularly devastating when it reaches his wife. That's concerning. Did you mention any of this to Alexandra? No, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Should I say something? I mean, if it were my husband, I would want to know. But I don't want to cause problems if there's some innocent explanation. Melissa's question provides the perfect opportunity to position myself as the concerned but trusting husband who would never suspect his wife of systematic betrayal. My response needs to demonstrate confidence in Alexandra while gathering additional intelligence about what Melissa has observed. I appreciate you telling me, but I think there's probably some reasonable explanation. Alexandra's been working on some big corporate housing project that involves a lot of real estate developers. It could have been a legitimate business dinner that just looked personal from a distance. Maybe you're right, but Jonathan, promise me you'll pay attention. I love my sister, but she's always been impulsive when it comes to men. Remember how she left her first fiancé for that guy she met at the gym? The historical context provides valuable insight into Alexandra's patterns of behavior. Melissa is suggesting that infidelity represents a recurring theme rather than an isolated incident, which means my situation might be more serious than I initially realized. I'll keep an eye on things, but honestly, I trust Alexandra completely. If something were going on, I think I would notice. Of course, and I'm probably just being paranoid. It's just that you're such a good guy, and I would hate to see you get hurt. Melissa's concern appears genuine, but her motivation remains unclear. She might be genuinely worried about my welfare, or she might be positioning herself to be the first person to break the story when everything explodes. Given her talent for transforming family drama into social media content, the latter seems more likely. We spend another 30 minutes discussing safer topics, her latest lifestyle blog posts, upcoming family events, mutual friends who provide gossip without personal stakes. But throughout the conversation, I'm processing the intelligence she's provided and adjusting my strategy accordingly. Melissa has independently confirmed the affair, identified David as a serial cheater, and positioned herself as someone who wants to protect me from emotional harm. More importantly, she's demonstrated that Alexandra's deception hasn't been as sophisticated as she believed. Multiple people have noticed behavioral changes, observed suspicious activities, and drawn accurate conclusions about what's happening. When we part ways, Melissa hugs me with what appears to be genuine affection. Take care of yourself, Jonathan. And remember, if you ever need someone to talk to about anything, I'm here for you. I drive home with a clearer understanding of the strategic landscape. Melissa will be a valuable ally when the information distribution occurs this evening. Her independent knowledge of the affair will provide credibility to my evidence package, and her talent for amplifying drama will ensure that the story spreads quickly through social networks. More importantly, her revelation about David's pattern of infidelity provides additional ammunition that will be particularly devastating when it reaches his wife. Rachel Thornton deserves to know that her husband's business dinners include activities not covered in his expense reports, and that she's not the first wife to be deceived by his professional obligations. I arrive home at 4:47 p.m., giving me just over an hour to finalize my evidence package and prepare for the evening's information distribution. The scheduled message will deploy at 6 p.m., simultaneously reaching Alexandra's parents, Melissa, and David's wife, with identical evidence that cannot be disputed or explained away. By 7 p.m., everyone involved will know the truth. By 8 p.m., Alexandra and David will discover that their carefully constructed deception has collapsed completely. The timing couldn't be more perfect. According to this morning's text messages, they're planning another follow-up meeting at the Five Palms Hotel tonight. They'll be together when their respective families receive the evidence packages, which means they won't be able to coordinate defensive responses or control the narrative that emerges from simultaneous revelation. I open my laptop and review the evidence package one final time. Screenshots, location data, timeline documentation, background information on David, and Melissa's independent confirmation of suspicious activities observed at Romano's restaurant. Everything is ready. At 6 p.m., the truth deploys automatically. The message deploys at exactly 6 p.m. while I'm sitting in my office, monitoring my phone for the immediate responses that will confirm successful delivery. The evidence package reaches 4 recipients simultaneously: William and Catherine Harwood, Alexandra's parents, who have spent 38 years believing their daughter represents everything they value about family loyalty; Melissa, who has been independently investigating the same suspicious behavior I've been documenting; and Rachel Thornton, who deserves to know that her husband's business trips include activities not covered in his expense reports. The first response arrives at 6:07 p.m. Melissa's text message carries the particular intensity of someone whose suspicions have just received comprehensive confirmation. "Oh my God, Jonathan, I am so sorry. I had no idea it was this extensive. Are you okay? Do you want me to come over?" I screenshot her response and add it to my documentation file. Melissa's reaction confirms that the evidence package successfully conveyed the scope of Alexandra's deception while positioning me as the wronged party who deserves sympathy and support. "I'm processing everything. Thanks for being there." My response maintains the facade of the devastated husband while avoiding any commitment to immediate action. What I need now is to monitor the cascade effects as each recipient processes the information and decides how to respond. The second response arrives at 6:14 p.m. from Catherine Harwood, Alexandra's mother. "Jonathan, we need to talk. Can you call us when you have a moment? We are both very upset and want to make sure you're all right." Catherine's message suggests that Alexandra's parents are prioritizing my welfare over their daughter's privacy, which indicates that the evidence package successfully established me as the victim rather than the investigator. Their response will be crucial for maintaining family support when Alexandra attempts to construct defensive narratives. "I'll call you in a little while. Still processing everything myself." The third response arrives at 6:23 p.m., and it's the one I've been most anticipating. Rachel Thornton's message carries the fury of someone whose worst suspicions have just received documentary confirmation. "Is this Jonathan Mercer? I got your message about David and your wife. Can you call me immediately? We need to coordinate our response to this situation." Rachel's reaction exceeds my expectations. Rather than focusing on emotional devastation, she's immediately thinking strategically about coordinated response protocols. Her message suggests someone who has suspected David's infidelity and has been waiting for evidence to support decisive action. I call Rachel's number, and she answers on the first ring. "Jonathan, this is Rachel Thornton. Thank you for sending me that information. I've been suspecting something for months, but I didn't have proof." Her voice carries the controlled anger of someone who has been preparing for this conversation, who has been planning her response to confirmation of what she already suspected. Rachel sounds like someone who won't be satisfied with apologies and promises of reform. "I thought you deserved to know. The evidence speaks for itself." It absolutely does. And Jonathan, I want you to know that I'm not just angry, I'm ready to take action. David thinks he's been clever, but he's about to discover that I've been preparing for this possibility. Rachel's response suggests that she's been conducting her own investigation, building her own case against David's extracurricular activities. The revelation that she's been preparing for this possibility changes the strategic landscape significantly. What kind of preparation? Financial preparation? Legal preparation? I've been documenting his behavior and protecting our assets for the past 6 months. Your evidence package provides the final pieces I needed to move forward with divorce proceedings that will leave him with nothing. The conversation reveals that Rachel is several steps ahead of where I expected her to be. Rather than the devastated wife who needs time to process betrayal, she's the strategic planner who has been waiting for the right moment to execute comprehensive retaliation. I'm impressed. Most people aren't that prepared for this kind of situation. Most people don't marry serial cheaters who think they're smarter than everyone else. David's been conducting affairs for years, but he's always been careful enough to avoid leaving evidence. Your documentation changes everything. Rachel's revelation that David's infidelity extends far beyond his relationship with Alexandra provides additional ammunition for the systematic destruction of his reputation and financial security. More importantly, it establishes Rachel as a valuable ally who brings resources and expertise that will amplify the impact of my information distribution strategy. What are you planning to do with the evidence? Everything. Divorce papers get filed tomorrow morning. His business partners receive copies of the evidence package tomorrow afternoon. His country club membership gets revoked by tomorrow evening. By the end of the week, David will discover that reputation matters more than he realized. Rachel's comprehensive strategy impresses me with its scope and sophistication. She's not just planning personal retaliation. She's orchestrating professional and social destruction that will eliminate David's ability to rebuild his life after the immediate crisis passes. What about Alexandra? What about her? She made her choice when she decided to pursue a married man. The consequences are her responsibility. Rachel's dismissal of Alexandra's welfare demonstrates the focused intensity of someone who prioritizes results over sympathy. Her approach aligns perfectly with my own strategic objectives while providing capabilities that I couldn't achieve independently. I appreciate your directness. Jonathan, I want to propose something. Instead of handling this separately, what if we coordinate our responses? Your wife and my husband think they're conducting a secret affair, but they're actually participants in a comprehensive intelligence operation that's about to destroy both of their lives. The proposal appeals to my systematic nature. Coordinated operations achieve better results than independent actions, especially when targets have the opportunity to communicate and develop defensive strategies. What did you have in mind? They're meeting tonight at the Five Palms Hotel, right? According to your evidence package, they've been using the same location for months. What if we arranged for them to discover that their secret isn't secret anymore? Rachel's suggestion carries the appeal of immediate confrontation combined with maximum psychological impact. Rather than allowing Alexandra and David to process the family responses privately and coordinate their explanations, we could force them to confront the collapse of their operational security in real time. How would that work? I'll handle the logistics. You just need to be available at 8:01 p.m. for a conference call that includes some very surprised people. I agree to Rachel's plan and end the call with a sense of satisfaction that exceeds my initial expectations. What began as a simple information distribution strategy has evolved into a comprehensive operation that includes financial, legal, professional, and social consequences for both targets. My phone buzzes with a call from Alexandra's parents. Catherine's voice carries the particular strain of someone who has spent the past hour processing information that contradicts everything she believed about her daughter. Jonathan, we are so sorry. We had no idea that Alexandra was capable of this kind of behavior. I appreciate your support. This has been very difficult to process. We want you to know that we don't condone what she's done, and we won't be supporting any attempt she makes to justify her actions. What she's done is inexcusable. William's voice joins the conversation, carrying the controlled anger of someone whose principles have been violated by his own daughter's behavior. Jonathan, you're family to us, regardless of what happens with Alexandra. We want you to know that our relationship with you doesn't depend on our relationship with her. Their support provides emotional validation while establishing important allies for whatever legal or financial complications emerge from tonight's revelations. Alexandra's parents represent significant social and financial resources that she won't be able to access if they maintain their support for me rather than her. The conversation concludes with promises of continued support and invitations to family events that will explicitly exclude Alexandra until she demonstrates genuine remorse and comprehensive reform. Their response exceeds my expectations and provides additional leverage for the ongoing strategic operation. At 7:43 p.m., my phone buzzes with a text from Alexandra. Running a few minutes late but should be there by 8. This client situation is really complex. The message provides perfect timing confirmation for Rachel's planned confrontation. Alexandra and David will be together at the Five Palms Hotel when they discover that their families have received comprehensive evidence packages documenting their activities. I screenshot Alexandra's message and forward it to Rachel with a note. Targets confirmed for 8 Nala p.m. location. Her response arrives immediately. Perfect. Get ready for the most interesting conference call of your life. At exactly 8 Salal p.m., my phone rings with a call from Rachel Thornton. Her voice carries the controlled excitement of someone executing a plan that has been months in development. Someone who has been waiting for this moment with the patience of a strategic planner. Jonathan, are you ready for this? Absolutely. Good. I'm conference calling David's room at the Five Palms Hotel. He thinks I'm calling to discuss our dinner plans for tomorrow night. He has no idea that I've spent the afternoon filing divorce papers and freezing our joint accounts. Rachel's preparation impresses me with its thoroughness. While I've been focused on gathering evidence and distributing information, she's been implementing comprehensive financial and legal countermeasures that will prevent David from protecting his assets or controlling the narrative. How did you get his room number? I called the hotel and told them I was his wife, which is technically true for another few hours. Amazing how cooperative people become when you mention you're planning a surprise for your husband. The call connects with the electronic precision of hotel phone systems, followed by the distinctive ringtone that indicates we're calling a room rather than a personal device. Rachel puts the call on speaker so I can monitor the conversation while remaining silent. David answers on the third ring, his voice carrying the relaxed confidence of someone who believes his operational security remains intact. Hey, beautiful. I was just thinking about you. Were you really? That's interesting, because I've been thinking about you too. Specifically, I've been thinking about the photos my new friend Jonathan sent me this afternoon. The silence that follows carries the weight of someone processing information that contradicts everything they believed about their situation. David's breathing becomes audible through the phone connection, the sound of someone whose carefully constructed deception has just collapsed completely. Rachel, I don't know what you're talking about. Really? You don't know anything about the Five Palms Hotel? Nothing about Alexandra Mercer? Nothing about the text messages you've been sending for the past 4 months? I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. David's response demonstrates the predictable pattern of someone attempting to maintain plausible deniability despite overwhelming evidence. His strategy relies on the assumption that Rachel lacks comprehensive documentation, which represents a significant miscalculation. The only misunderstanding is your assumption that I'm stupid enough to believe your explanations. Jonathan, are you there? I'm here, Rachel. My voice joins the conversation for the first time, and the impact on David is immediately audible. His breathing stops completely for several seconds, followed by what sounds like movement and muffled conversation in the background. Jonathan, what is this? This is what happens when people forget that technology documents everything, David. Your affair with my wife has been comprehensively recorded for the past 4 months. Location data, text messages, photos, financial records, timeline analysis, everything. Listen, Jonathan, I think we should all calm down and discuss this rationally. David's attempt to control the conversation demonstrates his fundamental misunderstanding of the strategic situation. He's operating under the assumption that this is a negotiation rather than the execution of a comprehensive intelligence operation that has already achieved its objectives. There's nothing to discuss, David. The evidence has already been distributed to everyone who matters. Your wife has filed for divorce. My wife's family has disowned her. Your business partners will receive their copies of the evidence package tomorrow morning. The background conversation becomes more audible as David apparently attempts to explain the situation to Alexandra. Her voice carries the particular strain of someone whose carefully constructed life has just collapsed in real time. "Is that Alexandra?" Rachel asks. "Put her on speaker. I'd like to thank her personally for making my divorce proceedings so much simpler." "Rachel, this is Alexandra. I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding." Alexandra's voice carries the controlled desperation of someone attempting to manage a crisis that has already exceeded her ability to control. Her strategy appears to rely on the assumption that she can explain away documentary evidence through personal charm and emotional manipulation. The only misunderstanding is your assumption that married men make good long-term partners. How's that working out for you now? I never meant for anyone to get hurt. Of course you didn't. You just meant to conduct a secret affair with someone else's husband while lying to your own family about your activities. Very thoughtful. Rachel's sarcasm cuts through Alexandra's attempt at emotional manipulation with surgical precision. Her response demonstrates someone who is prepared for this conversation and won't be distracted by appeals to sympathy or claims of unintended consequences. "Jonathan, can we please talk about this privately?" Alexandra's plea represents her final attempt to regain control of the situation through personal negotiation. Her strategy relies on the assumption that our marriage provides her with leverage that no longer exists. There's nothing private about this situation anymore, Alexandra. Everyone knows everything. Your parents, your sister, David's wife, his business partners. The secret is over. But we can work through this. People make mistakes. Marriage counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. Some mistakes are too comprehensive for counseling, Alexandra. You didn't have an affair. You conducted a systematic deception that involved lying to everyone who trusted you. That's not a mistake. That's a character revelation. The conversation continues for several more minutes, with David and Alexandra attempting various strategies for damage control, while Rachel and I document their responses for potential legal proceedings. Their attempts at explanation reveal the depth of their deception while providing additional evidence of premeditated betrayal. Finally, Rachel terminates the call with characteristic efficiency. "David, you have until tomorrow morning to move out of our house. Jonathan, you have my complete support for whatever actions you decide to take. Alexandra, you made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences." The line goes silent, leaving me alone in my office with the satisfaction of someone who has successfully executed a comprehensive strategic operation. The immediate objectives have been achieved. The affair has been exposed. Family support has been secured. Financial and legal countermeasures have been implemented, and both targets have discovered that their operational security was never as sophisticated as they believed. My phone buzzes with a text from Melissa. "Jonathan, I just got off the phone with Mom and Dad. They want you to know that you're welcome to stay with them if you need space to figure things out. Also, I'm posting about this on my blog tomorrow. Alexandra needs to understand that actions have consequences." Melissa's message confirms that the information distribution strategy has achieved its intended cascade effects. The story will spread through social media networks, ensuring that Alexandra's professional reputation suffers the same damage as her personal relationships. Another message arrives from Rachel. "Jonathan, That was even more satisfying than I expected. David's business partners are meeting with me tomorrow afternoon to discuss removing him from current projects. Apparently, they've been concerned about his judgment for months. Your evidence package gave them the justification they needed. Rachel's update confirms that the professional consequences are proceeding according to plan. David's reputation in the real estate development community will be comprehensively destroyed, eliminating his ability to rebuild his career after the immediate crisis passes. At 9:47 p.m., Alexandra's car pulls into our driveway. I watch from my office window as she sits in the driver's seat for several minutes, apparently gathering courage for a conversation that she knows will not go according to any script she has prepared. When she finally enters the house, her movements carry the defeated posture of someone whose carefully constructed life has collapsed in the span of 3 hours. She finds me in my office, where I'm documenting the evening's events with the methodical precision of someone completing a successful security assessment. "Jonathan, we need to talk." "No, we really don't. Everything that needed to be said was said during the conference call." "But I love you. This thing with David, it didn't mean anything. It was just excitement, something different. You're my husband. You're my life." Alexandra's appeal carries the desperation of someone who has finally understood the comprehensive scope of the consequences she's facing. Her strategy relies on emotional manipulation and promises of reform that cannot address the fundamental character issues that her behavior has revealed. "Alexandra, you spent 4 months lying to me, your family, and his family. You used work emergencies as cover stories for hotel visits. You documented your activities in text messages and photos that demonstrate premeditated deception. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was a comprehensive betrayal that reveals who you really are. People change. I can change. We can get counseling. Some things can't be counseled away. Trust, once broken this completely, doesn't repair. Character, once revealed this clearly, doesn't transform." The conversation continues for another hour, with Alexandra cycling through various strategies for damage control while I document her responses for potential legal proceedings. Her attempts at explanation reveal the depth of her sense of entitlement while providing additional evidence that her remorse focuses on consequences rather than actions. Eventually, she retreats to our bedroom while I remain in my office, completing the documentation that will support whatever legal or financial actions become necessary. The immediate strategic objectives have been achieved, but the comprehensive operation will continue until all consequences have been fully implemented. By tomorrow morning, everyone in Alexandra's professional and social networks will know about her affair. By tomorrow afternoon, David's business partners will have removed him from current projects. By tomorrow evening, both targets will understand that reputation matters more than they realized. The systematic destruction of their carefully constructed lives has only just begun. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my office reviewing the comprehensive results of the most successful security operation I've ever conducted. The evidence file now contains documentation of consequences that exceeded even my most optimistic projections. Alexandra moved out of our house after her employer placed her on administrative leave pending investigation of her relationship with David, which violated company policies regarding conflicts of interest with vendors. Her parents canceled her invitation to their anniversary party, and Melissa's blog post about family betrayal and personal accountability received over 50,000 shares across social media platforms. David's situation deteriorated even more rapidly. His business partners voted to remove him from all current projects, citing conduct incompatible with company values. His country club membership was revoked after Rachel shared the evidence package with the board of directors. The divorce proceedings stripped him of half his assets while establishing Rachel's complete control over their shared business investments. Most satisfying is the documentation I've received about their attempts to continue their relationship after the exposure. According to Melissa's continued intelligence gathering, David and Alexandra lasted exactly 6 days before the stress of simultaneous life destruction ended their romantic connection. Apparently, affairs that depend on secrecy and excitement don't survive comprehensive public exposure and financial devastation. The strategic assessment reveals several important lessons about information warfare in personal relationships. Timing matters more than evidence quality. Coordinated distribution prevents defensive countermeasures. Alliance building amplifies individual capabilities. And technology provides capabilities that most people underestimate until they become targets. My phone buzzes with a text from Rachel. "Jonathan, thought you'd like to know that David's moving to another state. Apparently, his reputation here is too damaged to rebuild. Also, I'm taking the kids to Europe this summer with the money from our asset division. Want to get dinner sometime and celebrate our successful operation?" Rachel's invitation appeals to me for reasons that extend beyond strategic cooperation. She demonstrated intelligence, planning capability, and ruthless efficiency that I find professionally attractive. More importantly, she understands that some betrayals require comprehensive consequences rather than forgiveness and counseling. "Dinner sounds good. I'll bring the final documentation from my side of the operation." My response maintains the professional tone while acknowledging personal interest that has developed through our collaboration. Rachel represents the kind of strategic partner who could provide both intellectual stimulation and operational support for future challenges. The evidence file closes with a final entry. Strategic objectives achieved, targets neutralized, reputation damage comprehensive and permanent, alliance relationships established for potential future operations. Alexandra's work emergency turned out to be more costly than she imagined. The Five Palms Hotel might offer luxury accommodations, but they don't provide protection from the consequences of systematic betrayal. Sometimes the most devastating revenge involves nothing more than ensuring that everyone knows the truth at the same time. Technology makes that easier than ever, and the results speak for themselves. The Mercer method proves that you don't need violence to destroy someone's life. You just need patience, documentation, and the strategic distribution of information that reveals who people really are when they think nobody's watching. Alexandra said it was a work emergency. I just made sure everyone understood what kind of work she was actually doing. The case file is now closed. The operation was a complete success.